Welcome back, guys. Now, after discussing about the contraction of the skeletal muscle, okay, we have made three parts, the contraction of the skeletal muscle in detail. After that, now let's discuss the concept of motor unit, okay. So, what exactly is this motor unit, okay? So, first of all, motor unit means, okay, one motor neuron, okay. For example, let me show you. This is one motor neuron, okay. You know from where these motor neurons are coming. These motor neurons are coming from the spinal cord, okay. They are coming from the anterior horn of the spinal cord, the ventral horn of the spinal cord. So, these motor neurons, now where they will go? They will go to the muscles, okay. They will go to the muscles. Now, this motor neuron, say it is going to a muscle and it is innervating what? If they are going to innervate muscle fibers, okay. So, let me show you. Here is one muscle. Let's say here is one muscle. This is one muscle, okay. You know, inside this muscle, okay, inside this muscle, there are many muscle fibers present. Inside a muscle fascicles are there. Inside the fascicles there are muscle fibers present. Muscle fibers are nothing but the myocytes. They are the actual cells. So, here I am showing you, this is one muscle fiber, okay. Here is one muscle fiber and here is one more muscle fiber, okay. Here is one more muscle fiber. So, like this there are many muscle fibers present. So, okay, let me write here. So, this individual thing is muscle fiber. It contains actin, myosin filaments. It contains the myofilaments, actin and myosin. You know this stuff. This is one muscle fiber, okay. Now, look at here. Let me just made a little modification to this motor neuron. See, this motor neuron, okay, this motor neuron, it is coming like this, okay. Now, what exactly is this area? This area is the nerve terminal, okay. This area is the nerve terminal. Now, here look, this is in the area of the nerve terminal. See, here is one knob, okay, and here say this axon, it is having one more knob. Let's say it is also having one more knob, okay. These are axon knobs, okay. These are axon knobs, okay. Let me just make a little correction so that you will understand better. So, now look at here. So, in this nerve terminal, okay, in the nerve terminal these are the axon knobs present. Now, this one more axon knob is going to one more muscle fiber. Here is one more muscle fiber. So, even though it takes some time, let me go slowly so that you will be having a better understanding, okay. So, in a muscle, this is a bigger muscle, okay. This is your skeletal muscle. Let's say this is your biceps muscle, okay. Inside your muscle there are muscle fibers present. They are actual cells. Inside the muscle fibers there are actin, myosin filaments which are going to help in the contraction, okay. Now, our topic is motor unit, right. So, what exactly is this motor unit? So, this particular motor neuron, okay, this particular motor neuron is giving supply, okay, it's innervating how many muscle fibers, okay. So, this motor neuron, one single motor neuron along with its muscle fibers, okay, along with its muscle fibers. So, this is called as one motor unit, or you can say simply motor unit, okay. You can simply say this is the motor unit. So, what exactly is a motor unit? Motor unit means when you activate this motor neuron, okay, when you are going to activate this motor neuron. So, what this motor neuron is going to do? It's going to cause the contraction of this muscle fibers, okay, these three muscle fibers. So, this one motor neuron along with its muscle fibers is called as a motor unit, okay. So, for example, let's say here is a one more motor neuron. For understanding purpose, I am showing you here. So, this is a different motor neuron. It's a little big in size, okay. Now, this motor neuron is coming here. See, your muscle is innervated by a nerve. Okay, your muscle is innervated by a nerve. Inside the nerve, there are many neurons present. Okay, even for better understanding, let me draw something like this. Imagine this is your muscle. Okay, here is your muscle. Now, here is a nerve. There is a nerve. Okay, there is a nerve. You know, from your anatomy you have studied biceps is innervated by which nerve? Okay, you know, right? Musculocutaneous nerve. You know the nerves, right? So this is the nerve. Okay, imagine there is one nerve coming like this. It is innervating a muscle. Inside this nerve, what do you have? You are having the axons of motor neurons. So, for example, let's say here is the cell body. You know where the cell bodies are. The cell bodies are present in the spinal cord. The cell bodies are present in the spinal cord. Now, look here. What exactly is this coming? So, this is the axon. It is coming like this. Okay. This is the axon. Now, let's say this is one motor neuron. Now, this is the other motor neuron. It is coming like this. Okay, let's use the pink. So, this is the other motor neuron. It is coming like this. So, it is having how many axon knobs? It is having 4 axon knobs. Let's say there is one more motor neuron in the spinal cord. It is also coming through the same nerve. It is innervating the same muscle. But look at the number of axon knobs it is having. It is having more number of axon knobs. Okay. So now look here. This neuron number 1. Okay. This neuron number 1. It is innervating how many muscle fibers? So it is innervating, for example, let's say 3 muscle fibers. Okay. This neuron number 2. It is innervating 4 muscle fibers. Okay, these are all the muscle fibers, individual cells within the skeletal muscle. Okay. Next, see this neuron number 3, it is innervating how many muscle fibers? 4, 5 and 6. Okay, innervation, something like this. Okay, for easy understanding I am showing you. So, what exactly is a motor unit? So, motor unit means one motor neuron. Okay, one motor neuron along with its muscle fibers. How many muscle fibers are innervated? So, it is called as a one motor unit. So, in this image which I am showing you, here is one motor unit, this is one motor unit. Here, this is the second motor unit. Okay, this is the second motor unit, a neuron along with its muscle fibers. This is one motor unit, and this third one is a separate motor unit. Okay, understood? So, in a muscle, you can have many motor units, but the point which I want you to know is, see, in this image, the first neuron, the red one, okay, it is innervating how many muscle fibers? Less number of muscle fibers. So, it's a small motor unit. It's a small motor unit. This pink color neuron, okay, what it is doing? It is innervating 4 muscle fibers. Okay, so little more, right? So, this is called as a large motor unit. Okay, it's called as a large motor unit. See, I am just using these numbers like 3, 4, 5, but actually they are different. Okay, understanding purpose, the more the number of muscle fibers involved, the more the number of muscle fibers innervated, the more big the motor unit is. Okay, so there are different types of motor units: small motor units, large motor units, and largest motor units. So there are different sizes of the motor units. Okay, small, large, largest. Okay, so what is the concept? How to understand this? See, for example, now if I want to do a little work, for example, if I want to do a little work, you tell me, see, for example, I just want to take this Apple pencil. Okay, I want to take this pencil. So my muscles are contracting. For example, I just want to take this. So my muscle is contracting. So muscle fibers are also going to contract. Now tell me, if I want to do a little work, more number of muscle fibers are required or less number of muscle fibers are required? Less number of muscle fibers required. More tension is required or less tension is required? Less tension is required. So, for easy works, for simple works, okay, small motor units are activated first. Okay, so which neurons are activated first? So, first these motor neurons are activated first. So, those motor neurons which are having are those motor neurons which are forming a small motor unit are initially activated. Okay, see, for example, I am holding an Apple pencil. Okay, less number of muscle fibers need to be contracted. If I am holding a big dumbbell, now more number of motor units are required. A big motor unit is required. A large motor unit is required. Imagine I am holding a very big thing. I am just holding a very big boulder. Okay, a big rock. Now even more number of muscle fibers are required. So now what happens is a large motor unit will be activated or recruited. Okay, so the concept which I want you to know is here in your muscles, okay, in your muscles there are small motor units present, large motor units present and largest motor units present. Okay, how they are recruited? For small activities, okay, initially for any activity, first small motor units are recruited, later large and later largest. Okay, so this is something called as Heneman's size principle. So what exactly is Heneman's size principle? So Heneman size principle, according to Heneman size principle, first smallest motor units are recruited. Okay, smallest motor units are recruited. Okay, recruited in the order of first smaller motor units, followed by large, followed by largest. Okay, so if you want to do more work, big work, okay, so large motor units are recruited because you know larger the motor unit, more number of muscle fibers will be contracting, more the number of muscle fibers are contracting, more tension you can generate, okay, more force you can generate so that you can do the work appropriately. Okay, so this is the order of recruitment according to the Heneman size principle. The order is smallest, large and largest. So when you are relaxing, okay, what should happen to the motor units? They should be de-recruited. Okay, so de-recruitment. Okay, de-recruitment. So who will be de-recruited first? Okay, who will be de-recruited first? So when you are relaxing, you don't require the largest motor units. Means you are relaxing, less force is required, less tension is required. Means you are relaxing and leaving the things. You are just keeping the boulder away, or you are just keeping the weights away. So you are relaxing when you are relaxing. Okay. So first who is de-recruited is this largest. The largest motor units are de-recruited. Okay. So largest, followed by large, followed by small. Okay, so I can say the smallest motor units are recruited first and the smallest are de-recruited last. The one who is first recruited is the one who is going to de-recruit last. The one, again I am repeating, the one who is going to get recruited first is the one getting de-recruited last. Okay, so this is the whole concept. Okay, this is the whole concept of the motor units. There are different sizes of motor units according to your usage, according to your work, based on the force generation, you will add up. Okay, first small. If it is not enough, you will add to large. Large motor units are recruited. Even if it is not sufficient, now that motor neuron, okay, which is having a large motor unit, will be activated, so more number of muscle fibers are contracted, so more tension is generated. Okay, so examples which I want you to know is, in your body there are small motor units and large motor units. So where you will see this small motor units. So small motor units in the sense, one neuron is innervating 3 muscle fibers. You can say 1:3 ratio. Okay, 1:3 ratio is the smallest, means one motor neuron is innervating only 3 muscle fibers. So such kind of motor units, small motor units, are seen in extraocular muscles. Okay, extraocular muscles. Okay, your extraocular muscles are innervated by the nerve. Which nerve? Oculomotor nerve. So in the oculomotor nerve, neurons are there. So those neurons which are coming, okay, those neurons which are coming in the oculomotor nerve, they will innervate only 3 muscle fibers. Okay, so they are the small motor units. And the small motor units are not only present in the extraocular muscles, but they are also present in the hand muscles. Okay, small motor units are seen in hand muscles. Now let's talk about the largest motor units. Largest motor units. So where do you find this largest motor units? You just think logically. Largest motor units means more number of muscle fibers need to be contracted. More number of muscle fibers need to be contracted means those muscles are involved in something, weighing more. They have to do more work. They are big muscles, powerful muscles. Okay. So large motor units are seen in your leg. They are bearing the whole weight of your body. Okay. So leg muscles like soleus, gastrocnemius muscle. Okay, in gastrocnemius muscle you will see large motor units, and back muscles. Okay, so these are the muscles which are having the large motor units. Okay, having said that, what else I want you to know here is the force generation. Okay, I will just explain you in the form of a formula so that you will be having a better understanding. Force generation. Okay, you tell me, you think logically and tell me, if more number of motor units are recruited means, for example, first small motor unit is recruited, I am just trying to do something, I am just trying to hold something. First small motor unit is recruited, followed by large motor unit, followed by largest motor unit. So more the number of motor units recruited means more the muscle fibers are contracting. So more the force will be generated, more muscle contraction, more force will be generated, right? So I can say something like this: force generation is directly proportional to, force generation is directly proportional to the number of motor units recruited. Okay, so more the number of motor units recruited, see, the more the number of motor units recruited, more force will be generation. For example, if one motor unit, if for example say if one motor unit is recruited, okay, one motor unit is recruited, only a few muscle fibers are going to contract. If 2 motor units are recruited, a few more muscle fibers are going to contract, which will generate more force, more contraction. If for example 5 motor units are recruited, means many muscle fibers are getting contracted, so more powerful contraction, more force generation. So I can say that the more the number of motor units recruited, more force will be generated. This is called as multiple fiber summation. Okay, means multiple fibers, multiple muscle fibers are getting involved, multiple muscle fibers are getting contracted. So there are summation, there is a summation, there is adding up to the force. More the number of fibers, more powerful force, or more force, more contraction. Okay, so multiple fiber summation. Okay, so this is the formula which I want you to know, or the formula means like the concept I want you to know. Next thing I can also say the force generation, not only this, where else the force generation is dependent. Okay, force generation is also dependent on. So force generation is also dependent on, is also directly proportional to the frequency of motor unit activation. Frequency of motor unit stimulation or activation. Okay, so what exactly is this? Okay, so how the force generated is dependent on the frequency. Frequency means how fastly, okay, how rapidly you are using this motor unit, you are stimulating this motor unit. Okay, how frequently you are stimulating this. Okay, for example, you say this is the motor neuron, it is coming like this, here is a nerve terminal with the 3 axon knobs. Okay, 3 axon knobs. And what are these? These 3 axon knobs are innervating the muscle fibers, like different muscle fibers within the skeletal muscle. Now you are stimulating. Okay, it is producing the action potentials. For example, you are stimulating it. Okay, 1 time, 2 time, 3 time, 4 time. Okay, see, if you are stimulating it continuously means you are stimulating it more, means the frequency of stimulation is more. So this motor units are also getting activated, this whole motor unit is getting activated. The more the number of times you stimulate it, the more powerfully it will contract. Okay, the more powerfully it will contract, the more force will be generated. So force generation is directly proportional to frequency. Not only the number, more number of motor units recruited means more contraction. I am not talking about the number now, I am talking about a single motor unit. Now, the more the number of times you stimulate this motor unit, the force generated will be more. How, sir? Why it is more? How? I can't understand. I will give you example. For that, you should look at these graphs which are called as muscle twitch graphs. Okay, muscle twitch graphs. Okay, a graph which is going to show you a muscle twitch. So muscle twitch means what? It includes what? Muscle twitch, it includes contraction of a muscle and relaxation of a muscle. Okay, so we are going to record now, okay, what happens to the force. Okay, we are going to measure what? Force. Okay, we are going to measure what? Force during contraction of a muscle. During contraction of a muscle, how much force is generated and how the force is going to be decreased during relaxation. Okay, with the time. So even if you don't understand, don't worry. Okay, let me explain you in the form of a graph. Now look at here, I am talking about graph 1. Okay, first graph. Now here on x-axis, I am talking about the time. Okay, I am talking about the time. On y-axis, I am talking about the force or contraction, force, contraction or the tension generated. Okay. Now look, if I stimulate a motor unit, okay, here I am stimulating a motor unit, I am going to give the stimulus. Okay, I am going to give the stimulus. Now after giving stimulus, after time, it takes some time. So now what happens is muscle is going to start the contraction. So when the muscle is contracted, when the motor unit is contracted, when the motor unit is contracted, okay, single motor unit I am talking about. When the motor unit is contracted, now look what happened to the tension generated. Tension generated is increasing. Okay, so this is the contraction phase. Okay, so contraction. Now after contraction, what will happen? There will be relaxation, again tension is going to decrease. So initially there is a contraction and relaxation. Simple, muscle twitch means simple, contraction, relaxation, how much force generated. Okay, certain amount of force is generated. Okay, that's good. But the points which I want you to know in this muscle twitch is, so you gave a stimulus here. When you gave a stimulus here, immediately the muscle contraction is not going to happen. Immediately the muscles are not going to contract. So there is some time from where you gave the stimulus and muscle is contracting after some time. So this period which I am showing here, this is called as latency period or latent period. Okay, so this period, what is called as latent period. Now tell me, see for example, if I am giving some work to you, okay, you are sitting, if I say that you go and do this thing, okay, you go and I am giving the order, you go and do this thing. So immediately you are going to stand and you are going to run and do that thing, no, right? So first you will see, okay, Sir gave this work to me, okay, relax, you are going to sit and you are going to plan how to do it, and later you will go and do it. Even muscles, see, when you stimulate this motor unit, okay, you know, when the alpha motor neuron is stimulated, muscle contraction occurs, but there is a lot of thing that is going to happen. When you stimulate an alpha motor neuron, the lower motor neurons, those motor neurons will cause the depolarization. The depolarization should open the calcium channels. Calcium should come into the myoplasm, the calcium should come into the cytoplasm. The calcium should go and bind with the troponin. Later, once the calcium bind with the troponin should move the tropomyosin away so that the active sites are exposed. Later, the myosin head will go there and will cause the power stroke. Okay, it will cause the power stroke. So, when the power stroke is happening, when the power stroke occurs, that's the contraction. Means lot of events are there in the middle. Okay, action potential, voltage gated calcium channel should open, calcium should come into the cell, the calcium should go and bind with the troponin, so that muscle contraction will occur. So, lot of events are happening. Means don't think that when you stimulate immediately muscle is going to contract within that 0 second. No, it's not going to happen like that. So, there is some time. So, this time is the place where the calcium is getting released. Okay, and the calcium is going to bind with the troponin, you know the story, troponin removes the tropomyosin and actin myosin cross bridging will occur, that power stroke will occur. We have discussed all the story in the skeletal muscle contraction. So, what is this phase called as? This phase is called, the first phase is called as latency period. Okay. Now, the time for this latency period will be somewhere around 10 milliseconds. Okay, in 10 milliseconds the latency period is there. Now, immediately after that there will be contraction. Now, how much time this contraction will take? The contraction is going to take a time of 40 milliseconds. And relaxation, your muscle is going to relax and the tension generated in the muscle is also going to decrease. So, what is the time for this relaxation? It is 50 millisecond. So, if you count all these three, that is the latency period, contraction period and relaxation period, the total muscle twitch, okay, one muscle twitch is going to take somewhere around 100 milliseconds. Okay, 100 milliseconds. So, this is something normal, but what I have to explain you is this one, you already know this. Okay, the force generation is directly proportional to the number of motor units. More the number of motor units, more force will be generated. More the number of motor units, more muscle fibers will be contracted. So, more force will be generated. That is a simple thing. Even a class 10 student can understand. But what is this? Force generation is also dependent on the frequency of motor unit stimulation. The more the number of times you stimulate the motor unit, more force will be generated. Okay, so how that's going to happen? Okay, so let me explain you in a different graph. Okay, so I am going to plot a different graph here. It is a graph. Now, look, what I am doing here is I am stimulating, I am giving a stimulation. Okay, so when I stimulate, it will take some time. Okay, so but anyway, what happens? I am not concerned about this latency period now. So, now what happens? Muscle is going to contract and relax. Okay, let us say muscle is contracted and getting relaxed. Now, immediately when the muscle is relaxed, now what I gave is I have stimulated again. Okay, immediately I have stimulated again. So, look what is happening. Is now one more time the motor unit is recruited, one more time the muscle is getting contracted, but the force generated now is little bit more. Okay, now again look, I am stimulating one more time here. When the muscle is relaxed, completely relaxed, again I am stimulating. Okay, so what happens is now the force generated in this contraction by the same motor unit is going to be more again when compared to the first two. I am going to stimulate again. Okay, I am going to stimulate it again here. Now look, what happens is same story. The force generated by the same motor unit. Okay, the force generated by the same motor unit, okay, is going to be again more. So what exactly is happening is, first let me go from the basic. So why in this second muscle twitch or why in this second contraction the force generated by this motor unit is greater when compared to the first one? Why? It's because of availability of, okay, more force is generated due to availability of more calcium. Okay, so you might think from where this more calcium is coming? Guys, look, when you stimulate a muscle, for example, let's say when you stimulate a muscle, okay, for example, let's say this is one muscle fiber. Okay, this is one muscle fiber. So who is going to get released? Tell me, say this is the sarcoendoplasmic reticulum. From the sarcoendoplasmic reticulum, calcium will be released, and that calcium is going to be helping in the muscle contraction. When you stimulate the muscle, calcium will be released, and calcium helps in muscle contraction. You know the story. Calcium is important for the muscle contraction. So after contraction, what is the next phase? Relaxation. So during relaxation, the calcium have to go back with the help of a primary active transporter called as SERCA, sarcoendoplasmic reticulum calcium ATPase, SERCA. With the help of the SERCA pump, the calcium is going back. See, this calcium, when it is going back, it takes some time. Okay, it takes some time to sequester back the calcium back into the sarcoendoplasmic reticulum. To get the calcium back into the sarcoendoplasmic reticulum, it takes some time. But what you are doing, even before the calcium is going back, for example, 100 calcium molecules came here. Okay, from the first stimulation, the first contraction, the first muscle twitch, 100 calciums came out. Now, only 50 have gone back into the sarcoendoplasmic reticulum. Relaxation completed and 50 calcium gone back. But what you have done immediately? Immediately you have stimulated one more time. So already 50 calcium are still present in the cytoplasm. Now what happened? Again from here one more 100 molecules of calcium will be released. So what happened now? How much calcium is there? For the first time only 100 calcium are released, but for the second time there are 150 molecules of calcium. Okay, why? It's because, again I am telling you, even before the calcium is going back into the sarcoendoplasmic reticulum, you have stimulated again. So again 100 calcium molecules will be released, but 50 molecules are still present in the cytoplasm. They haven't gone back. So now more calcium is available. Okay, more calcium is available. So more calcium is available means, you know, calcium is the one responsible for the muscle contraction. As more calcium is available, more powerful contraction will be seen, more force will be generated. Okay, the same thing is happening. Okay, same thing is happening again and again. So the more the number of times you are stimulating successively, okay, more powerful contractions are coming. You understood? So this is called as, okay, this is called as beneficial effect of calcium. Beneficial effect of calcium. So what is the beneficial effect of calcium? So when compared to the first muscle twitch, or when compared to the first contraction, the second contraction, the force generated by the second contraction is greater. Why? I have told you, it is because of the beneficial effect of the calcium. More calcium is available. Calcium haven't gone back into the sarcoendoplasmic reticulum. So more calcium is available means more powerful contraction. See, here I am not talking about the motor unit recruitment. It's the same motor unit, but more calcium is available, so more powerfully it will contract. Okay, so here if you are giving the stimulations again and again, don't think that it's going to be there forever. Okay, so first time you stimulate, second time you stimulate, more powerful contraction, third time you stimulate, more powerful contraction, fourth time you stimulate, more powerful contraction. And don't think that it is going to, the contraction power is going to increase more and more again. Don't think like that. Okay, so it will come up till 4 times. 4 times you stimulate, 4 times the force generated is going to increase, but from the 5th time, even if you stimulate here, the force generated by this motor unit is going to be same. The force generated during the 5th time is going to be same. So for how many times this force generation is going to increase? For how many times this force generation is going to increase? Okay, for 4 times. So force generation, let me write here, force generation is increased for how many times? Increased for 4 times. Okay, so sequentially what is happening as a sequence, the amount of contraction or the amount of force generated is increasing because of the amount of calcium available, and it happens for 4 times, and from the 5th time is going to be constant. Okay, so this phenomena is also called as staircase effect, because you are seeing it's increasing. So when compared to this, first, the second is increasing, third is increasing, and fourth is increasing. This is also called as staircase effect, seen in the skeletal muscles. Okay, the same effect in the myocardium is called as a trepy. Okay, trepy. So I have explained you what exactly is the staircase effect or trepy. It's because of the more availability of the calcium. Now let me explain you one more thing here. So these graphs may show up in your exam. Okay, now look here, you are giving the stimulus at 0 second, you are giving the stimulus. When you give stimulus, what happens is, look, the contraction is going to happen. Okay, after the latency period, contraction is going to happen. Okay, muscle is contracted. Now muscle is getting relaxed. Okay, now the muscle is getting relaxed. Now the muscle is not completely relaxed now. Okay, the muscle is trying to relax, but again you have stimulated it. Okay, complete relaxation not happened. So now while the muscle is getting relaxed, what you have done? You have stimulated it again. You gave a stimulus here. Okay, now what happens? Again one more contraction. Okay, again one more contraction. You know, the second contraction is going to be more powerful. The second contraction is going to generate more force. So that's why it is going little bit up. Okay, next, again when the second contraction, when the second muscle twitch, when it is relaxing, it's relaxing. Okay, even before the relaxation, muscle is not completely relaxed. Okay, incompletely relaxed. You have stimulated it again. When you stimulate the third contraction, look, you know, third contraction is also going to be more powerful. Okay, so it's also generating more tension. Now the muscle is trying to relax. Again you have stimulated. Okay, again you have stimulated. So how many times you have stimulated? 1, 2, 3, 4. So the fourth contraction also, you know, it is going to generate even more tension. Okay, so look, more tension. So you are stimulating it. The more the number of times you stimulate, see, the more the number of times you stimulate, you are stimulating continuously, you are stimulating it. Means even before relaxation, you are trying to stimulate it again and again, something like this. So what happened to the force generation? Tell me, the more the number of times you stimulate it, the more the number of frequency, the more the frequency, the more will be the force generated. Okay, so more the frequency of motor unit stimulation, more force will be generated. So that's what I have explained here. The force generation is directly proportional to the frequency. So you increase the frequency of stimulation, more force will be generated up till 4 times. Okay, so look here, what exactly is happening now? The muscle is getting contracted and it is getting relaxed. Okay, it's getting relaxed again. Okay, so when it is getting relaxed, look carefully here. Okay, it's getting relaxed. Again you have stimulated. Now from the 5th stimulus, okay, now I am stimulating here for the 5th time. Okay, now tell me, the force of contraction is going to increase from here now further? No. So from now the force is going to be same. The force generated is going to be same. Okay, so again you stimulate, so force generated is going to be same. Again you stimulate, force generated is going to be same. Okay, again you stimulate, force generated is going to be same. Okay, so this is what I want you to understand. So this graph which I have shown you, so this graph is called as, okay, this graph is called as incomplete tetanus. Okay. Incomplete tetanus. The point which I want you to know is, see here, you are giving stimulus. Okay, you are giving stimulus even before the relaxation. The stimulus is given before complete relaxation. Okay, before complete relaxation. Okay, this is called as incomplete tetanus. Means you are trying, say, you are trying to contract. For example, say if you are trying to contract your muscle, okay, so you have contraction, relaxation. But continuously what I am giving is the stimulus, continuous, the motor unit is getting continuously stimulated even before the relaxation. So what happens? Contraction, and when it is trying to relax, immediate one more contraction. When it is trying to relax, one more contraction. So that there will be this jerky contractions, and you can feel with the continuous stimulus. You just try it. With the continuous stimulus, you can check the amount of force generated, amount of contraction power, the force generated will increase. The more the number of times you stimulate, you try to continuously stimulate it, the force generated by this muscle is going to increase. Okay, something like this. So next, one more thing which I want you to know is, look here in this graph. Now I gave a stimulus. Okay, I gave a stimulus. Now contraction is going to happen. Contraction is going to happen. Now relaxation not started. Okay, relaxation is not started. It was supposed to go something like this, contraction, and it was supposed to go something like this, relaxation. But relaxation is not happening. Okay, even before the relaxation, okay, even before the relaxation, I gave one more stimulus. Immediately what happens? You know, okay, more calcium will be available. The calcium haven't gone back because after the relaxation, after the complete relaxation, calcium will go back. Okay, now still the muscle is in the contraction phase. You give one more stimulus. So what happens? When you give one more stimulus, more calcium will be released. Okay, more calcium will be released. So again one more contraction. This is a second. Okay, here I gave the stimulus, so second contraction started. Next, even before the relaxation, okay, the second, I am talking about the second contraction, it is trying to get relaxed, but even before relaxation you gave one more stimulus again. Okay, one more stimulus again. So what happens? One more contraction from here, one more contraction, and what you are doing? One more stimulus you are giving. When you give one more stimulus, what happens? More powerful contraction for 4 times, you know. Okay, the 4 times you stimulate, the contraction power, the contraction force increase. Okay, so increasing, and now you are giving the 5th time stimulus. 5th time. Do you think the contraction force is going to increase? No. You give 6 times, 7 times, or 5, 6, 7, 8. The force is not going to be increased. The force generated is going to be now constant. So force is generated is constant. Okay, the force generated is going to be, after some time, it's going to be constant. It is not going to increase gradually. Okay, your muscles are designed in such a way they are having limited capacity. They are not going to increase the force exponentially. It's not going to happen. Okay, first time you stimulate it, contraction. Second time you stimulate it, more powerful contraction, more powerful contraction, more powerful contraction. After some time, the force generated by the muscle is going to be constant. Okay, so here there is no relaxation. There is no such thing as relaxation. Even before relaxation, there is no relaxation at all. Continuously the muscle is kept in a contracted phase. There is sustained contraction. Look, there is a sustained contraction. Okay, now when I am trying to flex it, see, there is a sustained contraction in the muscle. The muscle is not at all relaxing. See, for example, contraction, relaxation. Okay, that's a single muscle twitch, contraction, relaxation. But when I am trying to do like this, I am keeping these muscles in a sustained contraction. There is only contraction. There is only contraction. Okay, now muscle is relaxed. So this graph which I have shown you, okay, so the muscle is kept in a continuous contraction phase, or I should say sustained contraction. of muscle fiber. Okay, sustained contraction of the muscle fiber. So this graph is, so sustained contraction of a muscle fiber is called as tetany. Okay, so most of your muscles, they are contracting by complete tetanus. Complete tetanus. So sustained contraction, I am keeping my muscle fibers in a continuous contraction phase, by giving repeated stimulus, repeated stimulus. So that is called as complete tetanus. Okay, so I have shown you 4 graphs. This graph, there is no relaxation phase, I am just erasing. So there is no relaxation at all. So continuous stimulus were being given to keep the muscle in a continuous tetany. Okay, continuous contraction phase. This is called as a complete tetanus. Here it is incomplete tetanus, means muscle is trying to get relaxed, again you have contracted, trying to get relaxed, again you have contracted. Okay, so this contraction, little relaxation, contraction, little relaxation. So this is called as incomplete tetanus. Okay, and here staircase entropy, you know it, for 4 times successively the muscle contraction is going to increase. So ultimately what I want you to know is the force generation, the amount of force generation is directly proportional to the frequency. The more that number of times you stimulate it, more powerful contractions will be achieved, till 4 times, not continuously. Okay, so what else I want you to know for your exam is the tetanizing frequency. Okay, the formula for tetanizing frequency. So tetanizing frequency means to keep a muscle in a complete tetanus, to keep a muscle in a sustained contraction phase, to take a muscle into tetany. How many times you have to stimulate it? How many times you have to stimulate it in a second? Okay, so the formula for tetanizing frequency is 1 divided by contraction period. Okay, 1 divided by the contraction period. You know what is the time for the contraction period? The time for the contraction period is, 40 milliseconds. I have written here 40 milliseconds contraction period time, 40 milliseconds relaxation time, 50 milliseconds. So 1 divided by 1 second divided by the contraction period. Okay, this is the formula to get the tetanizing frequency of that particular muscle. Okay, how many times you have to stimulate that particular muscle to keep that muscle in a continuous contraction phase? How many times the impulse should come to keep this muscle in a continuous contraction phase, so that muscle is not going to relax? See, I am trying to just keep this muscle in a continuous contracted phase. Now there is no relaxation at all, it is continuously in contraction. So how much frequency should be coming? Okay, for example, let's say normal contraction period, normal contraction period, you know, 40 milliseconds. So 1 second means it's having 1000 milliseconds. Okay, so 1000 divided by contraction period is 40 milliseconds, that is 25 hertz. So what is this? So this particular muscle, okay, I am talking about a muscle which is having a contraction period of 40 milliseconds. I am taking some muscle, for example, imagine this is one muscle. Okay, this is one muscle. So this muscle's contraction period is 40 milliseconds. So I have to stimulate this muscle. Okay, how many times? 25 times I have to stimulate this muscle. 25 times means 25 times action potential should be coming to this muscle. 25 times I have to depolarize this muscle. Okay, so if I give 25 times stimulus, this muscle is going to be completely kept in contracted phase. There is no relaxation at all. It's maintain a sustained contraction. So that is complete tetanus, or the frequency here it is tetanizing frequency. How many times you have to stimulate to keep the muscle in a completely contracted phase? That's the tetanizing frequency. Okay, so with this I have completed the topic of motor unit. Again I am telling you, motor unit means one motor neuron is innervating how many muscle fibers. There are smaller motor units which are recruited first, and there are larger motor units which are recruited last. More the work, more number of motor units recruited. More the number of motor units recruited, more force will be generated. More the time you stimulate the motor unit, more force will be generated. Okay, for how many times? For 4 times. That effect is called as beneficial effect or staircase effect. It's also called as TREPI if it occurs in heart. Okay, the beneficial effect is because of the availability of more and more calcium. More calcium available means more force will be generated by the muscle. Okay, so with this, the total concept of motor unit is completed. Hope the video is helpful for you. Thank you.